Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here. 11.2 PTR has been marked as release, and at least to me, that means it's time to start making some tier lists. For patch 11.2, today is going to be the M plus DPS tier lists based on what we've seen with current tuning as of July 22nd at 6 p.m. We're going to start with range DPS, going to melee DPS, and just try and, fill in I guess how I feel things are tier-wise on stuff here. Now, a couple things before we get into it. One shameless plug: we are pushing for 100k subs on the YouTube channel this year. We're at 91,000. If you guys maybe would consider subbing, if you aren't, that would mean the world to me. But at the same time, if you don't want to, that's okay. I love you as well. Second thing here, I've run a decent bit of plus on PTR. There are some classes and/or specs I haven't seen, even in my testing on stream, a couple keys off stream lately and all that. So a little bit of this is going to be just like word of mouth from chat, from other people that have made tier lists and things, just the community and all that. But I think we have a pretty good feel as to where things are. So it's my opinion, and I guess the community's in a sense, a lot of chat-based stuff here too, but I think we have a pretty decent idea where things are at for the most part. It's also very important to keep in mind that some classes are doing a lot of damage. Hunter, for example, Frost Decay, for example, which are two classes that aren't known for incredible utility when it comes to M plus or rating, honestly. Now, I'm not saying they're not going to be part of the Metacomp group. There are plenty of times in the past where classes have been subpar when it comes to utility, whether it's personal utility or party utility, yet brought because they have very good damage. But there's often times where classes that do, maybe however you want to look at this, 2 or 3% less than the best class overall damage-wise, but have insane utility, are actually brought over that class due to that Mage. But either way, I digress. We're going to break it all down today and hit on that. So we have all of the actual range over here first. I'll do melee after this and another part of the video, just separating them here. I guess we forgot Ellie Shaman, sorry. Blizzard forgot Ellie Shaman too. So actually, we can start Ellie Shaman. Let's do that. So I have not seen really any Ellie Shaman as far as PTR M plus testing is concerned, but I have a friend who plays Ellie, and I've also heard Petco talk about it a lot because we do communicate a good bit over the course of PTR and in general. Shout out him. Good dude. I've heard a lot of bad things about Ellie. I've heard Shaman in general is down astronomically, and it seemed that way in raid testing when it came to their damage output for elemental, even when it came to AoE on fights like Forge Master, fights like Nosferatu, whatever his name was, their AoE was just lacking. I guess that was a bit skewed due to the ads spawning in a later part of the fight. And from what I've heard over the last few weeks and things, mainly from people that have played it and such, is that they actually have really strong cooldowns when it comes to Mythic Plus and AoE and such, but their damage outside of CDs is incredibly subpar. They do have Sky Fury, good utility there. They have Ankh, best defensive in the game and all that, but they're not like Mage level of utility. But if you're looking at raw damage output, where you're trying to formulate an M plus comp and all that, you're going to want a high damage output and also have a good bit of utility if possible. And unfortunately, Elemental Shaman, from what I've heard, I've seen 0 in M plus in my groups, looks to be pretty subpar. So I'm going to put them in the actual B category here. I think that's pretty consistent with what we've seen for the most part with most lists and things floating around, but we'll see where that goes. I wouldn't be surprised if Ellie gets thrown some buffs. I've heard their tier set is currently a loss comparatively to their current tier set as well in 11.2. The Liberation Under My One is better than what they have in 11.2, which is the case for some classes, which likely end up getting buffed later on down the line, and or Liberation tier being nerfed for them, but we'll see where that goes. So B tier here, we'll probably leave them in the higher end of B tier when this gets filled in and see where they land. Now, we'll do Aug next tier. Realistically, Augmentation's in a weird spot. I don't know. I mean, they have infinite utility, right? It's Aug. Ebon, Might, Blistering Scales, Swords of Magic. I think they had that, right, for Aug as well. It's been a while since I played one. A million stops, knockups, this, that, whatever you want. I mean, they are the utility class, right? But the fact of the matter is, Blizzard hasn't really done much with Aug. I heard their tier set was in a weird spot really during PTR. I'm not sure where it's at now, but they haven't really done much. And it seems like every single tier, when it comes to M+, you're looking at a meta of either Aug being part of the meta and just being really good or not being good at all. Now, not to the point where it's unplayable, but to the point where it's there are just better options out there. Looking back at Undermine, even when it came to raiding, to a similar extent, you had the option of bringing a handful of Aug Evokers, right, to the raid, but you ended up just bringing multiple Destro Locks or multiple Boomkins or multiple of a class to bring just a second of that damage profile, a third of that damage profile, because of Aug being undertuned. Even though they can build upon damage profiles that are good. Like, let's say, for example, you've got, like the meta comp is, like a Marks Hunter and a Fire Mage or an Arcane Mage, whatever. Like, hey, being able to amplify these profiles can be really strong, building upon the best profiles that are already, well, the best in that scenario. But maybe you just bring a second Fire Mage or second Hunter or second, whatever is meta here, or realistically, maybe a class that just builds upon these even more, like a Priest that could bring Fort and or PI to the group, as well as some other, utility, right? So, Aug's in a bit of an odd spot. I don't really know what they're going to do with it as far as like tuning is concerned. I think Blizz is a little apprehensive, and I would be as well, honestly, based around their track record, and we'll see where that lands. But I'm going to leave them like in the I don't know C category. There's not really much else going in this category as far as ahead, but I think Aug's one of them where I really don't know. And I don't know if really anybody knows at this point. You can just throw them in the C category for rankings overall if you want to, because I don't believe much has changed from their initial like spot or from their tuning and things in 11.1, but we'll see. So Boomkin. Boomkin was very, very good at the start of PTR. They were very, very strong at M+. They were very, very strong in rating, and that was also due to a bug. I don't know the bug exactly, but there was something with their tier set and shifting between bear form and I think just, Boomkin form, right? Gaining stacks and doing like 100 million star surges or whatever. They were exceptionally strong using that, and they were just strong in general, even outside of that bug being a thing. However, their tier was nerfed. They were nerfed in general. They do bring utility. Martha Wild's good. Beam is very good, obviously. I could joke about defensiveness and all that here as well, but jokes aside, their damage just seems sort of subpar. I've run with a couple when it comes to M+ after the actual changes have come in. Their AoE seems fine, like not insane. Their single target seems not insane. Like, yeah, Mark is good, Beam is good, other random niche things here and there, like they're fine, or it's fine, but like it's just not where you want to be as far as like damage and or utilities. I guess damage is concerned. I wouldn't be surprised if they could buff either, but I put them above Illy as far as like the B category is concerned here. There's a chance maybe they can be back to the very low end of the A category, but I'm gonna leave them here for now, and we'll see where this all shakes out as far as like the rest of the list is concerned. Let's see, let's find something else here. I'm tired of putting everything in B. Let's go Destro War. I'm not gonna go on B too. Okay, let's go Mage. Jokes aside, we can do all three Mage specs. Honestly, Fire and Arcane are just good. I've heard some are saying that like there's a mix of both Fire and Arcane in different dungeons. Some are just saying play Arcane everywhere. I don't play a Mage. I'm not like totally sure the niches of different damage profiles and all that. I've seen a lot of Fire lately, and Fire seems pretty good. Is it as good as like Demonology has been this last week as far as overall damage is concerned? No, but it's still pretty solid. Mage, no bias here, obviously, jokes aside, has incredible amounts of utility. Cheat Death, Blink, immunities, Lust, Intellect. There is a large disparity between Mage and every other class in the game when it comes to utility. Basically, in every scenario. They don't have a battle res, but just be an engineer, you get one. Partially joking, but being real. The damage output's good. Fire and Arcane are good. Frost has seen, I've heard Frost is okay. I've seen zero as far as dungeons are concerned. I've seen just Fire and Arcane. A lot more Fire the last week or so after they were nerfed, I think a week and a half ago, and then buffed again after that. And they both seem pretty solid. So I feel like I've seen a bit more Fire lately comparatively to Arcane. I'm not really sure where the actual meta is at for both of these at this current point in time. I'm not sure if Mages are totally sure at this point either. We'll leave both in S tier. I think both are very likely S tier, if not very close. It could be more of a like Fire, or like an Arcane, Fire, and then Frost back here if these like get blasted at some point. But Mage is good regardless. Damage output seems good. Utility is obviously insane. We'll leave it like this for right now, and we'll decide where the rest of this goes. But Mage, I think, is definitely like probably overall, if we're looking to play a class that brings utility and damage to M+, currently, the class you want to play in 11.2 out of any in the game. No bias there, even though I do play Warlock. Speaking of Warlock, let's jump into this. So as far as like Aff, Demo, and Destro are concerned, Destruction, this season dungeon pool is heavy AoE in a lot. Halls of Atonement, Gambit, even Equidome has some large AoE pulls if you want to look at it in that sense. You can get a lot, even like Tazavesh, the other one, not Gambit, but Streets has some heavy AoE at certain points at times, depending on the pulls you do. You can get a lot of mass AoE around Destruction's AoE profile. Like People know what it is. I've seen it for a long time in the MDI. In these settings where you can pull multiple packs, AoE them all down with a huge Infernal Rain of Fire spam window. Destro's tier set also builds upon that more for Hellcaller this time around, where if packs live longer, you generate an absurd amount of Blackened Soul stacks, and those stacks will tick down, giving you basically a damage increase to your Wither, which is like your main dot for Destro, for over half a minute. So if packs are living for a long time, you can get your mass ramp out, like your mass AoE, and you're pulling around the Infernal. Honestly, I think Destro might be one of the highest, it might even be, it's like the highest overall AoE class in those sustained settings. However, those sustained settings are very niche. Quite often in like 10 keys, 12 keys, average mid-tier pug keys, even getting into like higher-ish mid-tier pug keys and stuff. Destro's profile is very, very often not used, and it does very subpar damage if you're not pulling in a manner that is beneficial to your Infernal window, your Malevolence window, and all that. So I think Destro is very likely, coming from a Warlock, probably a bit sleeper this tier. If you're looking to do mid-tier to higher stuff, I wouldn't be surprised at all if when the patch goes live, Destro is like the play in the higher end settings, which I mean, it usually ends up being, honestly. So I'm gonna put it on like the higher end of A tier. There's a chance where this could be A+ in the lower end if you're in that specific setting. That's the thing. Certain damage profiles and classes need those specific niche settings to be really good. When you have them, they're very good. So we'll see where that goes. Affliction Warlock's also in a similar scenario. It's not A+. The actual upfront burst it has is really good. You can outburst some of the highest AoE classes in the game with Soul Harvester, because you have this insane upfront damage. Whenever you cast your Soul Rot on a minute cooldown, it spawns in your tier set, which thrashes around in melee. They did cap the tier set, I believe, to 5 targets. It might have been 8 a week or so ago. Should probably know that, actually. But point being, it does a lot of damage still when it comes to AoE. Even in single target, it's very good, based range of 1 minute cooldowns. AF single target on its own, playing the Mythic Plus build, is not amazing. It's not horrendous, but if you're in a scenario where you can get a lot of like funnel damage onto a priority mob with lesser adds around that can generate resources, extra shards, more raptures, can funnel Dark Harvest value into your main target, its prior damage is actually really strong. If you're able to pull packs onto a boss, or if you're in like a Halls of Atonement, for example, doing the shard pull, when you go in and go to the right, you pull like that whole hallway with the gargants and everything into the shard, and you just burn the shard down, the shard's gonna die first probably, because you can funnel so much damage into that through extra resources being generated, extra Dark Harvest funnel value, right? But it's single target, and pure single target, not the best. It's playing Soul Harvest, you're playing Hellcaller, it's also in a bit of an odd spot. This would definitely be on the, I would say, on the lower end of A, to the point where like, it's if you like AF, you can definitely AF, but it has some issues. Obviously, it's putting aside AF's quality of life, which is still back in Burning Crusade in 2007. So Demonology is in a weird spot too. Lock's always in a weird spot due to its lack of utility and plus. We do bring gateways, we bring Hellstones, we bring battle res. Everybody has a battle res now basically at this point through some means. Gateways are good, Hellstones are good, but there's never been a key where you needed to have a gateway from a Warlock to time that key. It might shave some time off. Maybe that's if Lock's part of like the meta comp. Yeah, let's use your gate here. Why not? That helps a bit, save some time. But you never needed a gate to time a key. You've never needed Hellstones to finish any key in the world. There has been times in the past where Hellstones didn't despawn in plus, and you'd use some from a Lock outside the party. But point being, Warlock utility in M+ is basically non-existent comparatively to like a party buff or like a lust or something, right? You can't AoE cast curses or anything, which hopefully is a thing maybe in Midnight if you push for that. But the thing is, when it comes to Warlock and such, damage-wise right now, and this is one of those times where like looking at other classes in the past, looking at like Warlock, EP Demo in BFA, looking at Destro at the end of Shadowlands, right? Where you had such a strong your damage is so good that you can sort of forego needing all that utility, right? Yeah, I mean, it's fine. Utility is not great, but your damage is so good. In Shadowlands, you had insane Rain of Fire value with your tier set, permanent Infernals, you had Infernal Stuns, and a couple of little things here and there. Stones help, gates help, all that kind of stuff. But you weren't bringing Fort and PI. You're not bringing AI, everything else. You're not bringing Mark the Wild, right? So that puts you in a spot where if Lock ends up going live with an extremely strong damage profile, yeah, you might play one, but it's not likely going to be the case looking for that damage and utility, right? If you're in a spot where like Mage is doing, it's hard to extrapolate this out. Let's say, you know, like lock, like Demo Lock more specifically here we're talking about, is doing like, I don't know, 3% more damage than Mage is doing in M+ overall. However you want to look at that. But Mage has all the utility and, you know, blink and AI and immunities and lust and all that. You bring the Mage. Same thing when it comes to like Shadow Priest versus Demo, or Boomkin with Mark versus Demo, right? So also Demonology has a half-minute kick, which is very annoying. It's a stun, not even a lockout, which makes it pretty gross. It's also like a, honestly, I'd say a nerf to the overall ranking here. But jokes aside, Demonology does go in the A+ tier. Damage is very good right now. Soul Harvester is good. Same tier set as Affliction. If you're playing Soul Harvester with that minute cooldown on your Tyrant, not your Soul Rot, but both of those are a minute cooldown, and they spawn your tier set, which does a lot of AoE damage. The single target's good with Soul Harvester. Diabolos is very good in single target now, very good in AoE also. So I would put them in A+ tier. Not in the S tier, but on the outside looking in, and they are definitely one of the higher damage output classes currently on PTR. I put them higher than Frost here for sure when it comes to, you know, overall rankings here. Dev Evoker, Dev seems fine. I don't know. They seem fine. They have good utility. Swords of Magic. What else does Dev have? I forgot at this point. Swords of Magic, Blessing of the Bronze, which is not really that relevant, by the way. Just all utility overall. Their damage is okay. But it seems like when I've been playing with a couple in Plus, I've seen 0 Augs in Plus. I've seen a couple Devs, even in raid testing. It's been like solid, but not like, wow, that's utterly insane. You're not going in doing Frost Decay damage and mass AoE. You're not putting out insane single target. It's fine. Your cooldowns seem good. But it feels like they don't really sustain that damage or bring that consistency you're looking for with that higher overall damage output they have with cooldowns. So they're probably at the higher end of B. You could even maybe put them like an A- category, but I don't want to get too technical with like categories here and here. Wouldn't be surprised if you get a buff at this point. We'll see where it goes, but just sort of like, So Shadow Priest is a peculiar one. So I have notes here on Shadow. Yeah, so obviously when Shadow went live, they were exceptionally strong. They got one of the reworks this patch. They got nerfed. Their tier set, I think, was like 40% of their damage. It was absurdly high, I believe. It could be wrong there. Need a public data check there, but either way, very, very high. I think that they got nerfed, and I believe their tier set also got nerfed, which, you know, knocked them down, obviously. They do bring good utility to Plus. They also bring Fort, Power Infusion. Their damage is still solid. Like, their single target seems fine. Their AoE seems pretty decent. So I think they're not as good as, like, Mage damage output or Hunter, spoilers ahead, output. Not even good as, like, Demo Lock output. But the utility they bring is very, very solid. And that puts them in a spot of, like, it's a good comparison here as well of, like, if you're comparing like Soul Harvester Demonology to Shadow Priest, the utility they bring, if keys sort of want that utility or demand that, or just in general, having Fort around, having PI around, having what they bring, an actual kick that locks things out compared to Demonology, does give them the edge in that utility category for, you know, decent bids. I put them over in the higher end of A+ tier, higher-ish to mid. We'll see where this ends up shaking out. I'm going to put it in like a Shadow, Demo, Frost order and then see where this lands. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if some tuning came in this week and maybe knocked Mage down a bit, probably maybe knocked Demo down a bit more too, and Shadow looks better again, plus than they already are. So I actually went back and re-recorded this segment after I finished the whole video because honestly, I wasn't really happy with my Hunter ranking. I've gone back and forth on like if I want Marks or like BM and S tier, where I think they're going to be. So Hunter's been really good over the course of PTR as far as like M+ is concerned. I mean, Marks got hit with a 10%, I think a 10% aura nerf like a few days ago, whatever. I'm just putting them both in like the higher end of A+ tier, and then obviously the video might change a bit based on that. There's a summary with this all being accurate at the end too. So they got a nerf. BM's tier set also got nerfed a bit, but the thing with BM, like, they are consistent in damage. Like, they have a consistent AoE damage output, like, profile. In M+ on those like heavy AoE dungeons, Halls of Atonement, Gambit, Floodgate, Priory, other ones I'm sure is season 2, whatever, but slipping my mind, but they have a consistent damage profile and they have a short CD window. They can bring those CDs every single pack. Even when I was playing Demonology in a lot of dungeons, like with a BM hunter or an MM hunter, right? Like Demo's ramp is not incredibly long, not super short, but either way, like BM and Marks were just blasting everything down. They were really, really, really strong. Marks did get a bit of a nerf at the same time, but their single target seems good. Their AoE seems good. Neither of them bring much party utility. Hunter's Mark is not a buff or a raid buff or a party buff. Doesn't do anything. Misdirection and stuff doesn't really count. The little stuns they have and all that. I mean, it's nice, but it's not like you're bringing Intellect or Mark or PI and Fort or whatever, right? So I'm putting him in the high end of A tier. I'm pretty sure that like if things went live today, you would see either a BM or MM hunter in like the actual meta comp as far as like, you know, if you're playing 3 different DPS, like 1, 2, 3, and obviously no Aug in there, like Mage, Frost Decay, or Marks or BM hunter, right? I'd probably lean a bit more towards Marks at this point, but they're both in the higher end of A tier. I think it's a good example of a class that doesn't really bring a whole lot of like utility to a group, but their damage is good, and it still fits in relatively well to like what you're doing as far as like your party overall damage output and profiles and things are concerned heading into like the new season meta and just where they're at current tuning wise. All right, jumping into the more physical side of things here. I'm going to say I am not a rogue expert, same as last year's video. I'm sorry, rogues. I still didn't pick up a whole lot on what you guys do besides chop and stab me in the back and farm me for ages as a warlock in PvP. I've heard that, I have notes from my other monitor here. Subtlety, I've heard is worse than Assassination and Outlaw a good bit. I think I played with one Outlaw rogue, I think in an Eco Dome. I'm not 100%. I don't think it was Assassination or Outlaw. I believe Ass and both Outlaw have gotten buffs in the last week or so, which is solid. As far as like utility is concerned, man, I feel like when it comes to a melee comp, if you're looking at like a melee heavy comp, you're looking at classes like Warrior for Shout and its other Arms of Fury base. And if you want like mass AoE or like lesser with like a 5-target cap, right? Like Windwalker can be decent also when it comes like Mystic Touch, bringing that around. Even like, I mean, Enhancement Shaman's good also. If you have like Sky Fury, helps form that like that more like meat grinder melee based comp. Rogue really doesn't bring a whole lot as far as like, you know, helping hold those together and buff the other classes with, like we said, like Sky Fury or Mystic Touch or Shout, right? At the same time, the damage output seems pretty good. I've heard sub is like B tier level damage. Like I said, I haven't played with any rogues in M+. I feel like I never see them on PTR. I don't think we even had any in testing. I've heard the damage with Assassination and Outlaw is both good. I'm not sure where it's at. This is going to be one of those sections of the video, I'm sorry, where I love y'all, but I don't really want to like overrank or underrank here. We're going to put him in the bottom of A+ tier, maybe on the higher end of A. Me personally, like I would put them here. I've heard the damage output's pretty good. As far as like, me personally, I often feel like I overvalue like as far as like comp value is concerned, like melee comp versus range comp. What do you bring? Do you bring Intellect? Do you bring Fort? Do you bring Mark the Wild? What do you bring to a comp? And as far as Rogue's concerned, you bring Poisons. It's not really relevant as far as like, you know, that overall party utility. I'd probably put them on the higher end of A or the low end of A+. I mean, if damage is really good, like very, very, very good, like in a similar scenario to Marks, which is not, we'd see a lot more of them, then you can sort of like forego utility. But I feel like they don't really fit a melee comp exceptionally well, unless like they're just the best melee DPS out there, which I don't believe they are, and they also don't bring a whole lot to them. But I believe Outlaw and Assassination were buffed in the last week or so. I believe. I could be wrong there. I'm not sure by how much exactly. I'm going to put her on the higher end of A tier. They're definitely higher than like Destro and AF with like their more niche profiles, and see where that goes. If you're a Rogue fan, hey, you can either accept the fact that I don't really know Rogue a whole lot, and don't hate me for that, or love me saying you're bad and hope I'm trying to get you buffed. So there's that. My notes here. Okay, so we have Arms and Fury. Honestly, so like I play with Arms Warrior and a Fury Warrior. I think Beige is playing Fury. I think also Pug with a Fury Warrior over the last like week or so, give or take. Their damage seemed pretty good. Like legitimately, their damage seemed pretty solid. So Fury's still capped at 5, but they bring Shout. So if you're looking at more of a physical comp, bringing Shout for the Enhanced Shaman or the Feral Druid or the Windwalker or the Rogue that doesn't bring anything for you, or even just for whatever, right, is pretty relevant if you're looking to build like that melee meat grinder comp. I think like if you're taking damage and utility into account, I'd probably put him on the higher end of A tier. I don't really think, I mean, I think if you're going into like A plus tier territory, even if it's like on the lower end, you're looking at like, okay, this is a class that you could play both in like a, for the most part, like a physical or caster comp or like a hybrid comp. And I feel like Warrior is much more suited towards that melee based comp. I could be wrong. I don't know 100%. I mean, where buffs are going to go, but I feel like on the higher end of A tier, based on what they can bring, is worthwhile if you compare it to like rogue stuff, but I might take utility into account a bit more than I probably should. So when it comes to arms, uncapped, or I guess heavier AoE, I don't think they're capped at all unless they're square rooted at some point. I'm not sure. I haven't played with any in recent memory. I don't think. I think Beige was playing Fury. I think I played with a Fury as well over the last week or so. I probably toss them in here as well. I mean, they both bring like shout, however you want to look at it. If you're looking for more like mass AoE, maybe you're looking at bringing like an arms warrior. If you're looking for that melee comp comparatively to Fury, which is capped at 5. If you're looking for things like Halls of Atonement pulls or what's it called? Solaya's Gambit pulls, the mass AoE. If you're looking for like lesser pull counts, all that, maybe you bring a Fury Warrior along, right? Both have shout, both fit that melee meat grinder comp pretty well if you're looking to build around that. But the question is, are you looking to build around that, right? So I'm going to leave them in A tier and see where that goes overall. Seem fine, seems solid, not like something I would love to be like, you know, this is my first DPS in a pug group, let's build around Arms or Fury. Probably not gonna be the case. So Windwalker, I feel like Windwalker, even last patch 11.1, is a class that's like flying under the radar. Last patch it was Feral Druid that flew under the radar, I think, for PTR a lot. Their damage output, we're gonna do both here, I guess, give or take, was really good when it came to 11.1 PTR, like being Feral Druid, right? People really didn't see it a whole lot. I feel like Mark was a bit undervalued last PTR, and obviously Boomkin ended up being better as far as like metacomp's concerned. Both bring Mark, Boom can bring Solar Beam, all that kind of stuff, a bit more overall utility. Feral's AoE looks pretty solid this time around as well. It does sort of fit that melee comp relatively well. I mean, pretty well. Like there's Battle Shout. If you have a group of like, like Battle Shout and or Sky Fury, and or Mark being brought from a Feral Druid, maybe as a monk in the group too, maybe a Brewmaster, even though we're not like playing or building a, you know, tank healer comp here as well. Bring like Mystic Touch and or Shout and or Sky Fury to Feral helps. Feral brings Marks as well, and that separates, like, I think, you know, Feral from like Rogue as well. Good example. Solid damage doesn't really bring much. Solid damage brings Mark the Wild. Very, very big as far as buffs are concerned. So I'm probably going to put Feral on the higher end of A tier here. I think it does sort of once again fit that melee comp. It could be on the lower. I think if you have a comp built around it, like, or just suiting Feral, it's on the lower end of A plus tier. I probably go out on a limb and say this. It might be like one of my reaches as far as this list is concerned. I probably put like Feral at the bottom of A plus tier if a comp's built around it. If not, or if it's suiting for it. If not, I probably put a higher end of A tier. I'm gonna leave it here. Why not? Sure. Like we said, Windwalker, same thing. If you're building a big melee comp, maybe Brew is meta. We'll see where that goes. That brings Mystic Touch. Maybe even at some point something happens in Mistweaver. You play them, touch, you know, God willing, who knows. But as far as Windwalker itself is concerned, Spinning Crane Kick, I believe it's soft capped, is square rooted or whatever, I'm pretty sure. Their damage output seems solid though. Notes that I have here. Mystic Touch, obviously. Single target seems fine. Seems good overall. I mean, they're just there. I feel like it's this, like, in the past, it's been this weird thing of like Windwalkers are like either busted or just terrible. Looking at rating at the start of S2 in 11.1, Windwalker was, you know, pretty solid when it came to like world first stuff, but when it came to M+, didn't really translate over as well. Some tuning, I believe, hit and sort of knocked things down a bit. But if you are looking to build in like a melee meat grinder kind of comp and need Mystic Touch or want that, or just in general are looking to play Windwalker, it's probably fine. Might toss them here under like Fury and or Outlaw / Assassination. They're in here. They can bring things if you want those things. Damage output seems fine. It's not up there with like Mage or Hunter or anything though. So I think middle of A tier is probably fine. Yeah, if you build a comp around them, it could be pretty good. So once again, for Feral, highly valuing Mark the Wild. And there's that. So we have Frost DK, Unholy DK, Havoc Demon Hunter, Survival Hunter, Ret Paladin, and Enhanced Shaman left. Now, I basically play with all of these except for Enhanced Shaman. I've heard very polarizing takes on Enhanced Shaman. They were nerfed a bit. I've heard they're utterly insane. I've heard they're garbage. Now, I think the garbage might be a Shaman trying to sandbag a little bit. I've heard they're pretty decent though, as far as damage output's concerned. Now, important to keep in mind, Shaman brings Sky Fury. Shaman does bring Lust. A lot of classes bring Lust at the same time. But Enhance does, once again, fit this melee meat grinder comp really well when it comes to like bringing a Sky Fury. If you're with a warrior that brings Shout, if you're with a monk with Mystic Touch, maybe like a Brewmaster or Windwalker, who knows? Even like a Feral Druid possibly being mixed in there, bringing Mark the Wild, right? It does fit that comp pretty well. And from what I've heard and seen in actual videos I've looked up for Enhance on PTR, their damage output does seem pretty solid. Is it like Mage or BM, MM Hunter level of damage output? No, but it's good. And you got to keep in mind, once again, they do have that asterisk next to their name of, hey, this fits a melee comp pretty well, and they do bring more utility than what a hunter would bring, or other classes would bring, more than what like a Demo Lock would bring. If you're ranking them as far as a raw damage output is concerned here, it's definitely not ahead of Demonology. It's like this, right? It's like probably sitting somewhere like in probably this vicinity. I'm not really sure where Fire is at a whole, or Frost is at a whole lot. I haven't seen anything besides Fire in Arcane, but either way, probably somewhere in here. But it's important to keep in mind they do bring that part of utility and can fit that meat grinder comp if you want. We'll see where they go. Also, they can bring Poison Cleanse Totem, which is good in Arakara. There's that. I don't know if they take it a whole lot, but they can, because that poison is crushing in Arakara right now. Red Paladin is a class I've seen, I think, 1 or 2 of on PTR. Their damage seems fine. I mean, obviously, like they have bubble. They can't really die to many things unless you're, well, actually, they die to a lot, but they really shouldn't die to many things. Bring blessings, all that kind of stuff. I mean, utility solid, some CC here and there. They seem fine damage-wise. I'd probably put them on the higher end of A tier. I do feel like their AoE is like always been pretty solid. In raid testing, they seem pretty mediocre. And I feel like Blizzard does tune a lot around raid testing now, more so comparatively to M+. And with that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if they got buffed a bit more. I don't believe in raid testing anymore, unless they want to squeeze a boss or 2 in over the next week or so. I'd probably put them on the higher end of A tier. I feel like it's odd, because I feel like a lot of the melee classes this PTR had this asterisk next to their name of like, this could be pretty good if you're playing a melee comp, if you stack Shout and like Sky Fury and maybe Mark or Mystic Touch together, right? But on their own, they all sort of feel like they're just, they're okay. They don't really fit those hybrid pug-esque comps very well. But it seems fine. Higher end of A tier, I'd say more or less. Haven't really compared them to like Fury, Warrior, Outlaw, Rogue. I would assume Rogue damage is better, but once again, I mean, what does Rogue really bring utility-wise? Not a crazy amount. Probably just toss them in here somewhere. Give or take, maybe put Rogue up here. But, once again, there's like asterisks next to these for utility and things, right? So we'll see where that goes. Let's see. Frost Decay is ridiculous. This class is busted. They were nerfed by 10% last week. I believe it was 10. Was it 10 or 14? I think it was 10. Maybe it was 12. Something with 2 decimal, or two numbers, 10 or higher, and they're still utterly insane. Before those nerfs came in, it was like they were playing in Midnight already damage-wise, even though they're going to squish in Midnight. Their damage is very, very good. Very good in single target, very good in AoE, very good prio damage. Not like an insane amount of party utility. I mean, they are pretty relatively, relatively tanky and all that, but this is certainly an example of one of those classes that's like, you bring so much damage, enough damage, it doesn't really matter a whole lot. We'll just come in here, do damage, we'll deal with the rest, right? Frost DK looks very, very good. I would say, like, if you're looking to play one overall general class to hedge your bets for next patch, like for M+ and Radiant, like, yeah, Mage is probably a little better. Arcane and Fire are pretty good. Frost is pretty solid too, but not as good as these two. But if you're looking to just play what's best right now, it's Frost. I don't think it's like exceptionally close, really, for any of them. Unholy is, like, sort of in the shadow of Frost. It seems fine. I feel like, low-key, there's a lot of dungeons this time around that are heavy AoE based that had like that prio damage as well. I mean, Halls, Ecodome, Halls, Gambit, Floodgate. What else is back this season? Even like Priory, right? And I feel like Unholy's damage profile could shine a good bit in those. Is it as strong as Frost? No. Did they bring a whole lot of party utility? Not really a whole lot, but I'm going to toss them on the low end of A+ tier. It's like a weird kind of sleeper pick. And I could be wrong here. Sort of have Feral up here and Unholy, but I feel like when I've seen them on PTR, they have not been Frost level. But I played with a couple. Their damage output is still pretty strong. And I was like, oh, that's an Unholy DK, not a Frost DK. And like, they weren't They weren't as good, but they were still good. And I wouldn't be surprised if tuning comes in, or just in general, some routes get more defined and you want like that unholy damage profile, that you end up slotting one in maybe at some point. Sorry, I had a coughing attack there, but I'm back. Now, as far as the last two are concerned here, Havoc Demo Hunter and Survival Hunter. Havoc's damage is just good. If you haven't played with any on PTR, their damage output is just good. It's not like demo level, I'd say, but it's pretty solid. It might even be like on average around demo level if you factor in like Chaos Brand. Now, as far as like M plus DPS comps are concerned, if you're playing like Marks Hunter, Frost DK, and a Mage, or like, I guess it would be like two of those three classes and like a Havoc Demon Hunter, Chaos Brand might not be as valuable, not buffing both of them, one being more Fizz based, one more, you know, magic based. But regardless, their damage output's good. If you can get extra value out of like Chaos Brand, they have a good bit of CC as well. That's great. They do feel a bit flexible. I mean, you could just fit them in like into one of the random pug groups. Havoc DH is good. Bring him in damage wise. It'll buff the mage's damage, won't buff the hunter. It'll buff X or Y, but that works. I'd put them as far as like honestly up here, like in this general vicinity for damage output. Like it depends where Demo lands. Obviously Diabolus is very, very good for Demonology, but lack of utility, no party buffs and all that. Hunter damage is better than Demon Hunter. So I probably just put him right around here, give or take. Like I talked about, I ended up going back and re-recording the Hunter part of the video because I'm really split on putting like one of these in the S tier. One of these two was up here, very likely, and as far as like group comp is concerned, but I don't know which. I've seen a mix of both, and they both seem good. But all the Hunter classes, man, disgusting, putrid. But I put Havoc DH right here. They're pretty solid overall, good damage output. Bring Chaos Brand. If it's great, awesome. If not, whatever. It is worth mentioning that Vengeance could be a play this tier also for tanks. So if you're counting on having extra value there for like Chaos Brand, might just be covered by your tank. But we'll see where that goes. Last is Survival. So I played with the Survival Hunter a lot on PTR. Their damage output, honestly, is pretty good. They're actually enjoying playing a lot. I said, I don't really know, like, I don't know, like, the actual CD cycling and things a whole lot. Their damage output seems like it's all Wildfire Bomb or whatever it is. It looks fun to play. It looks consistent. They have damage, it seems like almost every single pack. Their single target doesn't seem phenomenal, but the AoE seems consistent and good. Similar as to, like, Beast Mastery. It's not as good overall as Beast Mastery. I mean, the question is, like, if you want to play Survival, if you like it, rock it, you know, do it to it. But you have options in Marksman and BM that are just better, I'd say, overall. You have, like, obviously a bit of range to play with there. BM, just infinite cast time, whatever. I mean, and Mark's just good, too. But Survival's not bad either. It almost feels like it's a Mage, like, Arcane Fire versus Frost scenario, where, like, if these both got destroyed, Frost might not be, like, total S tier, but it's still really good, and you'd play it. It would be one of the better classes. And it feels like Survival could be that, right? So yeah, we'll see where it goes. If you're looking to, like, if I was to hedge my bets as far as like what an M plus comp is looking like for DPS, like this tier heading into like week 1 or week 2, 3 pushing stuff, if tuning went live the way it is, you're playing a Frost DK, you're playing a Mage, whether it's like Fire or Arcane, who knows, or it depends. I feel like I've seen more Fire lately, but I'm not sure the damage profile variance in these two and all that in M plus and where it's going to land. You're probably playing a Hunter somewhere as well, honestly. I would probably lean a bit more towards like Marks or BM, but they both seem pretty good, both seem pretty close, and honestly, like, can't really go wrong with either. But I do think there's a lot of value to playing a melee comp as well, possibly. Like, there's a lot of good just melee classes out there, like maybe looking at playing something like, we use this row here, which is dead for them. Maybe something along the lines of just like playing like Enhanced Shaman, Fury Arms, but what you wanted. I mean, not like insane, obviously, but if you're bringing like for that, you know, larger AoE that you're getting out of Arms from Parallel Fury or whatever, also bringing Shout, very, very good with Sky Fury with Enhanced Shaman, and like filling it out with like a Brewmaster tank and maybe like a Feral Druid or a Rogue. It could be a pretty solid comp. A lot of like well meshing utility there. I'm not saying Warriors meta, I'm not, but Shout does help those groups. It looks pretty good. So yeah, we'll see where it goes. Wouldn't be surprised if more tuning comes though. If tuning does come, we will make our own list. But thanks for watching, guys. Like the video, like and sub below. It helps out a ton. Pushing for 100k subs this year in the channel. Hopefully we get there, but if not, I love y'all all the same. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. Peace.